Imagine a society stretched so tight by political and religious demands that the very fabric of everyday life simply snaps. That was northern India in the 15th century. At the top, you had the ruling class exerting heavy political control. Expanding Islamic empires brought a militant edge to the region, creating sudden, volatile clashes over who owned the truth. Meanwhile, from the ground up, a deeply stratified Hindu caste system kept the masses rigidly locked in place. The Orthodox establishment guarded access to the divine, reserving it entirely for the upper echelons of society. Between these two forces, genuine belief suffocated. Faith became a tool for leverage, reduced to strict outward performances and a pervasive fear of stepping out of line. If you were an ordinary person caught in this crossfire, you were locked out of the spiritual conversation entirely. The people needed a lifeline. They needed someone who actually spoke their language. The voice they got didn't belong to a king or high priest. It belonged to Kabir. Kabir was a weaver, a tradesman. He spent his days working a loom, placing him squarely in the working class, miles away from the gilded halls of religious elites. Because he couldn't rely on formal texts, Kabir weaponized the doha, a short, incredibly punchy two-line poem. It was perfectly engineered to be memorized, sung, and passed along by word of mouth among people who couldn't read. And he delivered these poems in the raw, everyday language of the streets. By ignoring scholarly Sanskrit and Persian entirely, he cut the clerical gatekeepers right out of the equation. His poetry functioned as an act of democratic defiance. Kabir took the monopoly on spiritual authority and handed it directly to the commoner. Once Kabir had their attention, he aimed his sights directly at the hypocrisy of the establishment. His primary target was the obsession with external religious performance. He openly mocked the idea that bathing in a river or bowing to a stone could wipe a slate clean. To the elite, this was highly offensive. He didn't take sides either. Kabir leveled his criticism at both Hindu and Islamic orthodoxies at exactly the same time, treating both with equal skepticism. He looked at the elaborate rituals of both faiths, placed them on a scale, and stripped them away to show that neither held actual substance on its own. His warning was simple. If your words say one thing, but your heart harbors another, outward rituals are entirely useless. So what prevents us from aligning our words and our hearts? Kabir pointed to Maya. This is the illusion of the material world, the constant buzzing distraction of transience. Maya isn't some abstract villain. It's the urge to hoard wealth, the vanity about our bodies, and the pursuit of status. This translation captures his urgent message. Look at item 115. Birth as man is priceless. It cannot be a second time. He drives it home with the metaphor right below. A ripe fruit which has fallen cannot again grow on the branch. If you don't strip away the illusions of Maya, your time expires. Seeing past these material traps is the absolute mandatory first step to finding any real substance. Which brings us to the ultimate question. If we reject the temples, the mosques, and the pursuit of wealth, where exactly are we supposed to look? Kabir pointed toward a concept called Nirguna Brahman. This is the belief in a God that has no physical form, no specific attributes, and is universally present. Instead of searching the horizon for a physical deity, this theology draws the focus inward, locating the divine strictly as a formless state of consciousness within yourself. There is a catch. Kabir noted humans rarely find this internal truth alone, because, as he put it, the diamond of the mind is flawed. Our egos obscure the light. To polish that flawed mind, you need a guide. Only with the precise, grounded instruction of a true guru can a person finally recognize the divine that is already sitting quietly inside them. What started as sharp, rebellious poetry on the streets of 15th century India didn't fade away into history. It solidified into a massive cultural force. His followers organized these philosophies into the Kabir Panth, literally the path of Kabir. It transformed his individual defiance into a living, breathing tradition. This translated page of the Path's commandments shows how his poetry became practice. It explicitly demands belief in a formless God and mandates strict nonviolence, requiring active mercy to all living beings. Above all, His path demanded the absolute rejection of the caste system. Kabir dismantled the arbitrary labels designed by society to divide humanity into tiers. 6 centuries later, Kabir's verses remain a razor-sharp antidote to our own modern tribalism. He leaves us with a blunt reminder. When you strip away the performative labels and look inward, all that's left is a shared, undeniable humanity.